Today, I want to start off the video with this chart from Lipper, a firm that tracks global funds movement. So it shows that the fund flows in the first half of 2025, specifically into global dividend fund assets, have seen a huge spike early this year. And there was more than 20 billion US dollars poured into it, after almost nothing in 2023 and 2024. So the big question is, why are investors suddenly running back to all these so-called dividend stocks or dividend funds after 3 long years? So over the past few years, I think it's quite clear. The market was obsessed with AI, growth, and anything with a sexy story. Dividend stocks, and by translation, dividend funds, were basically ignored because they were too boring. I mean, think about it. Who really cares about a 4% dividend yield when names like Nvidia or Palantir are jumping 40% in a 6 months time frame, right? And that's basically the growth investor crowd. But there's also another whole group of investors who don't need such excitement. What they need is retirement income or passive income. So for them specifically, a portfolio that spits out steady income stream is much more important than catching the next moonshot. And that's where this rush back into dividend stocks actually come into play. And this phenomenon is probably driven by two big forces. First, we are heading towards a rate cut cycle. So a lot of money over the last few years have been parked into bond-like funds or money market funds because yields were extremely attractive and they were considered quote-unquote risk-free. And this set of asset class were directly competing with your so-called dividend stocks. And as we've seen these yields actually start to come down, dividend stocks start to look interesting again. Second, the spike in volatility early this year also reminded people or investors alike that markets can become very brutal very quickly. And some investors are taking the active decision to rotate into what feels like safer and much more defensive names. And we can observe the trend quite clearly. Just search up Google Trends on a few of such key terms. Dividend investing, high dividend stocks, and they're all basically 45 degrees to the right. In the Reuters article outlining this flight to dividend phenomenon, they spoke to Chad Hammer, and here's what he had to say. With policymakers widely expected to trim rates later in the year, the bond side of the ledger could see coupons ratchet lower, while a broad swath of companies still have room to hold or even lift their dividends. And the income gap should tilt further in the equity's favor, unquote. I know, that sounds like a whole bunch of gibberish using very complicated terms. In simple words, as the rate continues to fall, the yield or the interest rate that you get from all these money market products or bonds will ultimately come down in tandem. And if you're in shorter term bonds, you face reinvestment risk every time something matures. For example, today, many investors are enjoying a 4 to 5% yield, but in a full rate cut cycle, that could easily drift back down towards the 2 to 3% on each new issue. And that's where reinvestment risk actually kicks in. And if you hold shorter term bonds, every time it matures, and you may have to roll it into lower interest rates. Meanwhile, if you look at strong dividend stocks, these companies can potentially still afford to maintain or sometimes even raise their dividend payout. And if that playbook continues, dividend paying companies could give you better income than these traditional bonds over the next few years. So while everyone is automatically scrambling for alternatives and getting attracted to the higher and more sustainable yields from all these so-called dividend stocks or dividend funds, it's very easy to fall into this mental shortcut. Oh, these are defensive companies paying out good dividend yields, so having them in my portfolio must be safer and better. But we have to remind ourselves, there is no free lunch in the financial markets. Yes, it's true that some of these so-called defensive names can hold up better during a recession, but that doesn't automatically mean that they're immune to recessions or even big equity-like drawdowns. Let's not forget, a dividend stock is still a stock, and a stock is in that equity asset class. The price can still drop 20 to 30% or more in a very bad bear market, even while they continue to pay out dividends. So if you buy them today thinking that they'll behave like bonds, then that's where the trouble starts. especially for investors nearing retirement. And that's exactly the key point here. A dividend stock is a completely different instrument when comparing it to a bond. So with a plain vanilla bond, if the issuer doesn't default, you hold it to maturity, you generally know what you're going to get back. The coupons, which is the interest they pay out, plus the initial principal that you use to buy the bond. With a dividend stock on the other hand, there is no maturity date, no promised principal, and the dividend itself that they tend to pay on a yearly basis is also not guaranteed. So don't fall for the illusion that dividend paying automatically means that it's better and safer. Safety as a concept is always relative. Compared to your high growth names that swing 5 to 10% the daily candle, matured dividend paying companies can look more stable relative to growth names. But at the end of the day, they are still equities. Their prices can fall sharply in the bear market and your capital is not guaranteed. So with bonds, your main risks are things like interest rate, inflation, and the issuer's ability to pay you back. But your cash flows and principal are at least defined. And dividend equities are more about income plus potential growth, in exchange for taking on full equity risk and real price volatility. Now, don't misunderstand. That doesn't mean that bonds are useless, or some of you might call it a boomer asset. In fact, there's a reason why a well-diversified portfolio almost always have some bonds in it as well. So with a high quality government or investment grade bond, they tend to be less volatile compared to stocks, and in many market crashes, these high quality bonds either hold up their value or even go up while equities get smashed. And that makes them a natural shock absorber for your portfolio, especially if you're drawing income or already in retirement. So instead of thinking that bonds are bad and dividends are good, it's much more useful to think in terms of their job scope in a well-diversified portfolio. And in fact, you're not limited to just two sources of passive income. In this video, we have focused a lot of our efforts trying to explain the difference between bonds and dividend stocks or funds. But the yield universe is so much bigger than that. You've got REITs, like your real estate investment trust, that pays out rental income, and even private credit, which is essentially lending directly to businesses in return for a much higher interest. This is CK from Piranha Profit signing off. Till next time, keep winning.